Hello and welcome to the third of our films for this year's Self-Denial Appeal. This week I'll be talking to Richard Bradbury. Richard and his wife Heidi have been serving in Bangladesh for the last 2.5 years. They're there with their 2 children and they work at the headquarters in Dhaka, the country's capital. Bangladesh has about 100 officers and about 1,000 soldiers. The country's population is increasing, especially in the cities. Dhaka has twice the population of London but is 5 times more densely populated. These images were filmed by a team from the Canada and Bermuda territory for their self-denial appeal last year. When I caught up with Richard, he was not in Bangladesh, but quarantining in Denmark, which is Heidi's homeland, as the family took a well-earned Christmas break. Well, it's really great to be chatting with you, Richard. Can you just tell us what's it been like for you in Bangladesh?
Like many places, it's been a very challenging time. It wasn't just a healthcare issue, it was more an economic issue. So many people are on daily wages, and so to not have any income during that time had some really serious implications. And when you live in very crowded conditions, whether it be in a house that you're sharing with your extended family, or when you're living on top of each other in a slum area, then transmission is much quicker and it's much harder to isolate things.
There was a post you made about seeing some of your international colleagues flying out. Literally, you could see their planes going over where you lived, and you could almost just see that could have been you, but you stayed with the people. How difficult was that decision to stay?
In some ways, it was not very difficult. I think for us, we felt, well, actually, we have this tremendous privilege of living in another culture, and we can't only do that during the good times. That actually, if we are truly believing that this is our calling, this is where we're supposed to be, then that has to be during the challenging times as well. We can't just take the good bits. So yes, there were struggles in our minds, particularly at the start around the lack of the healthcare, and that was a risk, there's no doubt about it. And that's why many people went. But for us, I guess at that point, we just had to believe that our faith was stronger than our fears at that point. And we just wanted to stay and journey along with our colleagues.
How is church life continuing in Bangladesh?
During the initial lockdown stages, we had to, like many places around the world, we had to close the churches, but we don't have the benefit of Zoom or Skype or these issues. It's often said that places like Bangladesh, the Salvation Army is not for the poor. The Salvation Army is also the poor. So many of our soldiers live in poverty. But our officers did a remarkable job just keeping everybody connected, and that was how we kept going until we were able to gather together as a church.
Yeah. Perhaps in the last few years, but certainly this year, I guess people have been thinking about what is resilience. Is that what you're saying? Is that something you've really seen in the officers and Salvationists in Bangladesh?
The Bangladeshi people are tremendously resilient, and the officers reflect that in their responses. And so we weren't just dealing with the response for COVID. We have dengue fever. We had a response for cyclone where we were helping people to rebuild their houses. They'd lost their house completely. A number of our halls and quarters were literally just blown away at the same time as we're trying to deal with the fallout from COVID as well. It was the locals that really stepped up in the response. So we were able to coordinate things, but actually the majority of the work was done by the local officers, the Salvation Army officers on the ground. And they did an amazing job. They went out often without concern for their own safety and did all kinds of things. And then we also have a number of clinics And we were able to keep those open. I paid real tribute to the staff of those clinics that just kept soldiering on.
Yeah.
And I mean, another thing that I would say is that actually during this time, we've also had our self-denial appeal as well. And I'm always keen to stress that the International Salvation Army self-denial appeal is one that everybody gets to contribute in. And okay, we get more from that whole pot, but we still have the privilege of being part of that. And for many people here, it's a real act of self-denial. So that also emphasizes this idea that, you know, we stand together as Salvationists and Christians in solidarity, and you know, this togetherness and connectedness that we have.
Well, if you can send the Salvationists of Bangladesh just our love and our admiration and acknowledgement of our brotherhood and sisterhood with them.
Thank you. And we are also grateful for the support that's been given to us, the financial support, yes, but also, you know, the compassionate support and the concern that's been given to us as well.
Thanks, Richard. Speak to you another time.
Yeah.
Next week, I'll be talking to Melinda Boone in the Philippines.